Hey everyone, this podcast is part of Story Mode, the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. You can support us and gain access to other great exclusive podcasts at patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Rawr.
Rawr.
Hi everyone.
Hello everyone.
Oh, my name is David Bell.
My name is Tom Ryman.
And we just watched Cruel Intentions.
Cruelent.
Yeah.
Cruelent.
They weren't good. They weren't good intentions, Tom.
They were not. They weren't good intentions. They were cruel. They were dishonest. They were manipulative.
It's a fitting title. Good title.
I'm sick of sleeping with these insipid Manhattan debutantes. Nothing shocks them anymore.
But you can relax. I have a mission for you. Why I Plan to Wait by Annette Hargrove.
Paradigm of chastity and virtue.
Introduce her to your world of sex, drugs, and what else do you do? She's young, supple.
She'll be my greatest victory.
You don't stand a chance.
Care to make a wager on that?
If I win, then that hot little car of yours, mine.
And if I win?
I'll give you something you've been obsessing about ever since our parents got married.
There's a lot of intent behind those intentions, and none of them were good. No, if you think they're up to good, then you're wrong. They're up to no good.
Yeah.
Bunch of no good nicks in this film. I'm done.
When did this When did this come out?
99.
Okay, yeah, that checks out.
Yeah, it does. Did you see everyone's hair?
Yeah.
I don't know why I said that like Chandler Bing.
Because it's the 90s, Tom.
Because it's 99, baby.
It feels like the 90s, like it's like a horror movie where the villain's almost dead and it's reaching out. And this is what this movie feels like. It's the 90s, like the last throes of the 90s.
Last gasp of the 90s, yeah.
Yeah, this is
starts with a Placebo song, so you know it means business.
Oh yeah. And it ends with fucking Bittersweet Symphony.
Yes, it does.
Oh, god damn. So this is an adaptation, right?
Yeah, of Dangerous Liaisons.
Yeah, I'm glad I figured that out. Because at first I was like, this director is really working some stuff out. Because it's like a 40-year-old dude who wrote and directed this. But as an adaptation, that makes it slightly less weird, I guess.
Yeah, it explains a little bit why... Because the movie's kind of impossible.
Oh, wait. Hold on. Shout out to Harrison Millie.
Oh, right.
Holy shit.
Yeah, we got
Jesus Christ.
This is a We Just Watched classic.
We were so pumped that we almost forgot to thank.
We're so pumped to break down these intentions, yeah.
Yeah, Harrison Millie, thank you so much for doing this.
Had good intentions.
Yeah, they had good intentions. So yeah, I hope you didn't like shut this off in the first minute. Where you're like, they aren't mentioning us.
They didn't say our names. Fuck this.
Yeah. Thank you so much, you guys.
Yes.
Anywho.
Yes.
Cruel Intentions.
Cruel Intentions. So yeah, the fact that it's based on it makes it make a little bit more sense because just like the extreme high society that these kids live in, it just seems kind of impossible that. Like, I don't know, a lot of this, like a lot is done with like letter writing, like that kind of correspondence, and it's 1999, so it's like, isn't anybody going to jump on a cell phone? And there are cell phones in it, but it makes more sense when you realize it's like it's an adaptation of a much older novel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's got Sarah Michelle Gellar, Ryan Phillippe, Reese Witherspoon, Selma Blair. Joshua Jackson shows up. Sean Patrick Thomas is in there.
He is. He is.
Apparently, reading the IMDb, I guess Tara Reid's in there. I didn't catch her.
Yeah, she was the daughter. She was Susie Kurtz's daughter. Yeah, she's the daughter of the therapist.
Yeah. Man, this fucking movie. This was like a movie that like kids watched, right?
This was like a big deal. This was a big deal when I was in high school. Yeah, because it's R-rated, but it's still. For a movie that is an R-rated drama specifically about nefarious sexual conquests, it's like weirdly chaste. There's no nudity in it.
Yes,
So
it reminds me.
it's still very much made for teenagers. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's baby's first sexy thriller.
Yes.
That's what it is. It's like getting kids ready. I can see why teens were like so into this, because it's like probably for a lot of teens their first like sexy thriller, and the idea that people can be like gaslighting people and like evil, sex evil.
Yeah.
Ryan Phillippe is basically like John Doe from Seven, but sex.
Yeah.
Like he's the sex Riddler.
Sex Doe. Yeah, he's the sex Riddler.
Yeah, because he's just like doing mean sex stuff for no real reason. Like
Really?
it's kind of American Psycho-ish.
Yeah, and I actually don't. Okay, so we let's get to the question. How do you feel about this film, Dave? How does Cruel Intentions grab you?
I don't know. I think I didn't like it. It's very dated.
It is
the characters,
extremely dated. Yeah.
Yeah, it's also not very well written. The characters just say their thoughts and motivations out loud.
Mm-hmm.
It's melodrama. It's one of those where me and Hannah were watching it, and we were at first like, how did this movie get popular? I feel like anybody who fondly remembers it probably is just because of nostalgia. Because watching it as an adult, it's just like, ugh, God. Lots of gay slurs.
Mm-hmm. 99, baby.
Yeah, there's like nobody that you like. Like it's a lot of like, there's very few, like, we follow Ryan Phillippe's character and he's not likable.
He's not the good guy, no.
Yeah, and spoilers, the way the movie won me over is they hit him with a car.
They sure do.
And I was like, oh yeah, I'm with you now, movie.
Here's what I'll say. I really liked the first half of this movie.
Okay.
I think it falls apart in the second half. But I appreciate how this movie was totally game to be about a bunch of bastards. They make it clear from jump that Ryan Phillippe and Sarah Michelle Gellar are the biggest bastards who have ever lived. And they never explain why. And I am totally fine with that. I don't need to know why they are the way they are. They have decided that their hobby is going to be crushing people around them to partially to maintain their own status. Like Sarah Michelle Gellar is obsessed with remaining the most popular person at their boarding school and in general, like high society Manhattan life. But is part of why she's so gleefully destroys people is to maintain that position, and another part of it is because she just enjoys it, and Ryan Phillippe is the same way.
Right.
Yeah, so I appreciated that this movie wasn't scared to make its characters just real bastards.
Yes. I guess.
And really go for it, too. They really go for it.
They do. And it doesn't actually matter why, for sure. I feel like the movie just needed to say more. I was kept getting reminded of the film The House of Yes, which basically covers a lot of this better. House of Yes, if you haven't seen, is Parker Posey. Tori Spelling's in it. I think Freddie Prinze Jr. It's based off, I believe, a theatrical.
It's a play
production. Yeah. And it's a brother and sister who have like incestuous relationship based around the assassination of Kennedy, and he brings home like his fiance, I feel like, to Thanksgiving, and it's like a nightmare. And like they have the same where they're like sex villains and they're like a manipulative family, and there's like it just paints a very more not realistic but a more full picture. And I felt like this movie felt like it was like almost satire, but didn't actually have anything to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it doesn't. It definitely doesn't have anything to say. It is for teenagers. So it's the most simplistic form of melodrama. Yeah, I think it's. I think where like I said, okay. So I liked the first half of this movie. I liked all of the setup.
Where did it lose you?
It loses me when they start to try to do the relationship between him and Reese Witherspoon. Because the idea is that Reese Witherspoon is this very virtuous woman who's coming to... Well, girl. That's another problem with this film. It's hard to tell how old everyone is supposed to be.
Yes, when she with her instructor, that relationship, I was like, I can't tell if I should be concerned.
Well, because they have Selma
they're both
Blair,
the same fucking age.
Right. They have Selma Blair, who is a student joining their school, but it's unclear how old anyone is. I wasn't even sure if they were all still in high school for a lot of the movie, because everyone's in their 20s. Selma Blair is like 27 in this movie, so I'm like, how old is she supposed to be?
She also acts like a fucking Martian.
Right, they're having her behave like a 14-year-old from Jupiter.
Yeah.
She behaves like she still believes in cooties, and it's like...
She's like...
Yeah, it's really infanticized in this movie.
Yeah, the weird dance she does about like the secret society or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck is happening?
And I think it's meant to convey that she's just been so extremely sheltered. Like, this is the first co-ed school that she's going to, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway... The point of the film is that Reese Witherspoon is this new student that's moving in. Her dad's the headmaster. She wrote this, for some reason, she has this piece in 17 magazine about how she's waiting to have sex until she gets married. And Ryan Phillippe sees that. He's like, fuck that. This is my next conquest.
Yeah, he says at one point, imagine what this will do to my reputation. So, like, he's doing it for, like, sex points. Like, there's some... We should mention that this opens with him doing the sex riddler thing. He goes to a therapist.
Mm-hmm.
He tells her legs are nice. She like boots him out. She like she's like kind of a shitty therapist.
Yeah.
Boots him out, and as he's leaving, she gets a call from her daughter being like, this guy took advantage of me and took pictures of me. And the thing she describes is the exact same thing he said to the therapist. So she realizes it was him. And he's like smiling as he leaves, like, I am a sex villain.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he just like, this is his hobby.
Yeah. And this is another thing to point out, and this is probably the closest thing you can say to as far as what this movie's trying to say or what it's about. Everybody is terrible except for Reese Witherspoon.
Yeah.
Like
I would say Reese Witherspoon, Sean Patrick Thomas isn't that bad.
He's still kind of bad.
He's still kind of bad, yes.
But not terrible, but he's still kind of bad. Anyway, that we don't. I'm getting distracted from what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
So this movie paints a very unflattering picture of high society. It's all bullshit. Everybody's fake. Everybody is ruthlessly out to destroy anyone else just to maintain their own reputation, popularity, status. I think this movie is an indictment of that culture. So maybe that is what teen audiences in '99 could take away from it. It's like, well, yeah, if this is the lifestyle you're aspiring to, it kind of sucks. Here's what everybody is like.
It's always on the verge of that. The part where Sean Patrick Thomas gets fired and she says, I gave money to Colin Powell to show she's not racist. It's like, oh, that's really funny.
Yeah.
But then they never stick the landing. Go on.
They never stick the landing. Yeah. It's a lot of stuff. I think this movie does have a satirical bent to it for sure. I picked up on that. But so he decides that Reese is going to be his next conquest. Sarah Michelle Gellar's like, you'll never get that. You'll never pull it off. So they make a bet where if she wins and he doesn't successfully woo Reese, he has to give her his car. If he wins and successfully woos Reese, he gets to fuck her in the butt. And that is very explicitly what the terms of the bet are. That's not me embellishing. That is explicitly what the terms of the bet are.
He's going to fuck his stepsister, yeah.
In the butt, specifically.
In the butt. Yeah, she says you can put it anywhere.
Right, because at first he's walking away. She's like, you can have sex with me. He's like, whatever. And he's leaving the room and she's like, you can put it anywhere you want. And that's when he stops.
Right. Unless he's thinking about her ear or something.
He could be.
Yeah.
The implication is her butt. However, it could be the ear.
Yeah. So he has to fuck Reese Witherspoon so he can fuck Sarah Michelle Gellar in the butt.
Yep.
Or she gets his car.
Or she gets his car.
Yeah.
God.
You could say they don't have good intentions.
No, you might say that their intentions are cruel.
Yeah. Yes.
But they have... So she comes to town. She's staying with his aunt, and here's part of where I was like talking about how it makes a little bit more sense if you understand that it was based on like a Victorian era novel, where it's like the new girl in school is living at his aunt's chateau. It's like, what? But so it's kind of like this. Yeah. Anyway, so she's staying at his aunt's chateau in fucking New York City, and they strike up a relationship. That this is where the movie loses me. Is they just all of a sudden they tell us he's in love with her, and we have not seen that whatsoever.
Right, he's like, oh no, my intentions.
Yeah,
they're not cruel anymore.
They're not.
Like
They're no longer cruel.
Yeah, he has a crisis of intentions because she makes horrifying faces at him while he's driving.
She makes him laugh.
Horrifying.
Yeah, it's like there's a couple of scenes of him throwing awkward game at her that's not really landing, and she's like rebuffing him a lot. Then they kiss for no reason. In another scene, and then they get forced to go volunteer at a retirement home, and he hates it. Yeah. He's so angry that he had to go do this, but she makes him laugh on the drive home, and then the very next scene, he's like, "I can't do the bed. I'm in love with her."
I'm in love.
You have not earned this at all.
Yeah. Also, like she knows that he's a sex villain. She makes that clear.
Yeah, because Christine Baranski told her. Christine Baranski's in this movie.
Yeah. God damn it.
She's the woman that fires Sean Patrick Thomas and tells him she's not racist because she donated money to Colin Powell.
Yeah, she's doing a great job. Yeah.
Yeah, she's killing it. She's always killing it.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a fun moment where in the first scene she's in where she's Selma Blair's mom, and she's having Sarah Michelle Gellar take Selma Blair under her wing at the new school so she doesn't get like ridiculed or have a hard time. And if you know Christine Baranski, she has a very loud voice. It's kind of one of her like trademarks almost.
Right.
So she's speaking very loudly about how much she hates Ryan Phillippe. And he comes in and leans into her ear and like shouts, "Nice to see you too." I thought that was very funny for some reason.
Yeah. Everybody's
doing a fine job. Yeah.
Yeah, the issue is like the writing, I'd say.
Yeah,
more than anything.
Doesn't. I think I was with it because I was happy. It was refreshing to me to see a movie where it's like, we're gonna make a movie about some odious people, and 9 times out of 10 the people aren't ever really that odious. So I just appreciated that this movie straight out of the gate was like, no, these people are fuckers. Like they're
bad.
They're the worst people.
Yeah. And it's almost like it's almost a positive message to teach teenagers like there are predators out there.
Yes.
But they're so obvious in this version.
Yeah.
And again, like we know that he's in love with Reese Witherspoon because he just goes to his sister and he goes, I love her now. Like he says it. They say everything they think.
Yeah. So it falls apart because they don't. For me, it falls apart because they don't make me believe for 1 second that he loves Reese Witherspoon. Like there's nothing. There's nothing there.
They start a redemption arc that's unearned.
Yes.
And he realizes that he's just kind of a fuckboy, and that like he's wasted a lot of his life on this shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gets hit by a car.
Gets hit by a taxi.
Like, there we go.
In a fist fight with Sean Patrick Thomas.
Yeah. He just okay. I this is a jumping ahead. There's nothing motivated about there's nothing set up about getting hit by a car.
No, it does not seem like it's going to be that kind of movie whatsoever. And then he just gets hit by a taxi and dies.
Yeah. So like imagine any other movie. And then imagine if at like the 90-minute or 100-minute mark, the character you've been following just gets hit by a car and everything comes to a halt.
Yep.
And that's the movie. Because that's basically what happens. He doesn't complete his arc because by pure fucking chance, he gets hit. It didn't look very hard, but whatever. I've never been hit by a car, so I'm not going to judge.
He rolls up over the top of the car, crashes down on the road, and keeps rolling. Like he might have smashed his head in.
I didn't think though. Like when I saw that, I didn't think he was going to die from it.
It looks bad, but not fatal. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And then they just cut to funeral, and it was like, are you kidding
what,
me?
he's dead? Yeah, like, because they show his face on the ground. He's got a little bit of blood on his forehead, and he's like, I love you, Annette. And she's like, I love you, too. And then it cuts to his funeral. It's like, what?
He's
He died?
dead? Yeah. It's like, what a weird... Like, I don't know how else to explain it. It's like, imagine watching, like, I don't know, Jack and Jill, and then they get hit by a car, and then the movie ends. Like any random movie, just insert any movie. I don't know, I went with Jack and Jill. Juno. Imagine Juno.
Sure.
Only she gets hit by a car at the end, out of nowhere, and then the movie ends. It's so fucking weird. Yeah, and so it feels like, you're right, the setup is good. It's not, I mean, it's not like amazing or anything.
No, but
in terms of what the movie's trying to do.
Yeah, it really got it just from the opening shot is pretty dope too. It's just a really long, it must be helicopter because it's going over the cemetery. It goes over this sprawling cemetery and then comes up to this bridge and then focuses on Ryan Phillippe's Jaguar as he's driving over the cemetery across the bridge. I'm like, that's a dope first shot.
You know
to
what
set
it's
up what this
foreshadowing.
movie is. Yes.
Yeah. That motherfucker's gonna be dead.
Yeah.
Because of a car.
Because of his bullshit. Like it shows his car and then his journal in his seat, which is a journal of all his conquests. So yeah, it's a pretty sweet opening shot.
Yeah.
And like the first 30 or 40 minutes does a really good job of getting me invested in these just galloping bastards. I want to see how much their bastardry is gonna destroy everything around them.
Right.
And then it falls apart with the romance.
Yeah, I had seen this movie before, but I had forgotten him getting hit by a car. I thought it was going to be like a reveal that Reese Witherspoon also has cruel intentions. I thought it was going to be like intolerable cruelty or something like that.
Yeah.
Where like, oh, because this is basically a con artist movie.
Yeah, or like Dirty Rotten
conning.
Scoundrels when they realize that she's the jackal or whatever it is.
Yeah, so I was expecting something like that. And it didn't. Yeah, the second half is not earned, and it's I don't know.
It becomes a real crappy, melodramatic in a bad way teen romance in the back half, and that's like the worst kind of movie to me.
Yeah, his sex diary also is like the 7 villain diary, like John Doe's diary.
Well, he is a teenage sociopath.
Yeah.
You have to bear in mind he's supposed to be 17, 18, and he is a demonstrated sociopath.
Yeah.
So
he dresses like fucking Steve Jobs.
Yeah, he does. Wears his turtleneck sweaters. And it's a perfect role for Ryan Phillippe because he just looks angry all the time.
Yeah.
He always looks like he's pissed.
Ryan Phillippe I like him as an actor. I think this was a bad time for him. Because it's kind of like the Twilights, where I don't think they have enough to work with, so he's kind of performing it like he's fucking Anakin Skywalker.
A little bit.
Yeah, like it took Ryan Phillippe a little while to like tell the world like, hey, I can act. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it took a while for movies to kind of figure out where to put him. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so, like, yeah, he does work well as, like, a sociopath, Patrick Bateman, rich guy. It's just, yeah, the movie isn't quite good enough.
The movie's, yeah, it really bungles its second half, which is a bummer because I was fully on board for, like, I think I said aloud to the room, like, as I was in the first part of this movie, I'm like, this movie kind of rules. Like, this is really good. I see why people are into this movie. And then it just, I still understand why people are into it. But the back half is bad. The ending is like, I guess the ending is okay because it's nice that Sarah Michelle Gellar gets her comeuppance. But
yeah, so what happens is he why is Sean Patrick Thomas mad?
Okay,
it's because he realizes. You explain it. Yeah, you got this. So
they're one of the scams that Sarah Michelle Gellar is running is to ruin Selma Blair. It's a real circuitous path, but basically she was dating Charlie O'Connell. I don't know if you noticed that was him.
Wait, what?
She's talking about this whole thing is to ruin her former boyfriend, Court.
Right, yeah.
And Court is played briefly in a single shot by Charlie O'Connell, who is Jerry
Jesus
O'Connell's
Christ.
brother. So she wants to get back at him, but she can't do it herself because it'll blow back on her. So she's going to do it through Selma Blair because I think they're sisters or something.
Who's sisters? Wait, someone was sisters?
Now I'm confused. So like, okay, so basically,
I was very confused on this point of what.
Okay, all right. So
the plan was.
now I remember. It's okay, so Charlie O'Connell is dating Selma Blair now. Like he dumped Sarah Michelle Gellar for Selma Blair, so that's why she's going after Selma Blair's reputation to ruin Charlie O'Connell, and she's doing it by they trick Selma Blair into fucking Ryan Phillippe a bunch because they're like, well, you want your music teacher to like you, right?
Right.
And so you got to get like practice makes perfect. So and then Sarah Michelle Gellar is doing the same with Sean Patrick Thomas. So they're all boning each other. And then Sarah Michelle Gellar tells Sean Patrick Thomas that Selma Blair has been boning Ryan Phillippe, and that's like, and also that like she says like he hit me, and he's like, all right. And it's like, and also he's been boning Selma Blair. And he's like, what? So he wants to go beat him up for fucking the woman he wasn't even dating yet, even though he was also fucking someone else.
Right.
So he kind of sucks anyway.
He's not great.
Yeah.
And then basically he starts a little scuffle. Accidentally, Reese Witherspoon accidentally gets put into the road.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Phillippe saves her life and gets hit by a car. And then at the very end, it's his funeral. It's just hard cut to his funeral, for fuck's sake. And, everybody goes outside while Sarah Michelle Gellar is giving the speech because it turns out that his book of like bad deeds was published.
Mm-hmm.
They made copies.
Yeah.
Reese Witherspoon is like a revenge, and they keep like cutting back to Ryan Phillippe's picture of him smirking to show like
it's
revenge
like I'm
from beyond the
dead,
grave.
but I'm still fucking you over.
And everybody just sort of believes this book that gets passed around. But it does get confirmed because he notes that she does cocaine out of her cross,
Out of her
cross
crucifix
necklace,
that she's wearing, yeah.
and a teacher grabs it and confirms, and that's enough to get her probably kicked out of school. But we don't know. It just sort of ends.
No, probably not.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Kids at that level of wealth and status don't get kicked out of anywhere. Yeah, it's just
implied that it's
gonna ruin
to.
It's gonna ruin her reputation. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think so. I've been thinking about this. I think I know why. I mean, we already sort of circled it. Why this is a big problem is because, like, they seem to think that we should be happy that Sarah Michelle Gellar gets what's coming to her,
and we should, because she's terrible, and she's very ruthlessly hurt a lot of people.
Yes. But they also think that we should forgive Ryan Phillippe.
That's true.
And that's what it is that it's like we start the film with two people who are both shitty.
Yes.
And they're both villains. Mm-hmm. And then the guy gets like rewarded because he gets turned good from like an afternoon with Reese Witherspoon. And then it's like, how dare Sarah Michelle Gellar? Aren't we glad that she got what's coming to her? And it's like, I mean, Ryan Phillippe's sins also get exposed that way, mm-hmm. but he gets like a redemption.
Because he realized he was bad.
Yes, but they do this like unearned redemption where he realizes his intentions are cruel, and he's like, my intentions, and then he starts getting better, and it was almost like the film knew, like, there's no way to fully redeem him, so let's just hit him with a car. And it feels like the movie is always trying to redeem him, like, he uses a lot of gay slurs, and then they show like, oh, he knows a gay guy, so it's fine. You know what I mean? It's that very mm-hmm. era where he knows the guy who looks like a Wes Bentley, one of the Wes Bentleys.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Joshua
Jackson. Oh,
he's a Wes Bentley.
He doesn't look
type.
a thing like Wes Bentley.
He's a white guy with like short brown hair. They're all.
His hair is blonde in this movie.
Whatever, man.
They don't look a thing alike, Dave.
It's fine. Fucking white people, man. Yeah. And so, like, he comes in, but his character exists only to show that. Like, he barely matters.
Well, his character,
right?
his character is there to show that Ryan Phillippe has a way to get leverage over this other character who's a closeted teen. He's on the football team, but he keeps having these trysts with Joshua Jackson. So he's using that to blackmail him because he's longtime friends with Reese Witherspoon. So Ryan Phillippe is using that as leverage to get to use this dude to get information on Reese Witherspoon for him. So that's why Joshua Jackson's character. It's not to excuse his behavior so much as advance the story in that direction.
Yeah, I think it's there for both because he shows up and then he leaves. Like, he's barely in the movie.
He's only in 2 or 3 scenes, yeah.
And they could have done that many different ways. And so it just felt, I don't know. Again, they're not trying to make us think he's a good guy necessarily, but they are trying to set up a situation where we're rooting for him by the end. And I never really felt that. I wrote early in my notes, this movie needs to end in a worker uprising as a joke. And it kind of does in the sense that he gets hit by a car.
Yeah, he gets hit by a taxi, specifically.
Yeah.
So he gets hit specifically by an avatar of working class America. Yeah.
And I meant that as a joke. I didn't think the movie was going to actually do it. You know what movie comes to mind, Tom? Rules of Attraction. Did you see that movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. You get Rules of Attraction vibes here? Because we have teen heartthrob playing a objectively bad person.
I think...
I don't want to spoil Rules of Attraction, but there's actually a similar ending there.
There's similarities between the two, but I think Cruel Intentions is a little I don't want to say better because from a filmmaking standpoint it's not, but like Rules of Attraction feels like misery for misery's sake.
Yes, I haven't watched it in a while, and I do remember it's probably very dated.
And it's also written by Bret Easton Ellis, so
yeah, of course.
he does a lot of misery for misery's sake, and he just loves to punish women. And yes, the Shannon Sossaman in Rules of Attraction just gets punished from beginning to end.
But that's the thing is, I would say like Selma Blair in this gets punished.
Well, no, she ends up. She gets
her revenge at the end.
Yeah,
I guess
she gets her revenge, and she ends up with Sean Patrick Thomas like she wanted.
I guess what it is that Rules of Attraction. Again, I haven't watched it in a while, so it's probably extremely dated. And yeah, it's not a great writer behind it. It feels like it's doing the aspects of this movie more successfully, where it's showing this broken, terrible person, and he never gets redemption.
That's not the point of Rules of Attraction, though. Like, Sean never realizes he's bad. Even, like, the movie brings him to the point where in other stories, this character might have an epiphany, and he just doesn't.
Right. And I kind of appreciate that, because that feels like a more realistic version.
Maybe.
Like the attempt to give Ryan Phillippe a redemption, I think, is the big problem with this movie, because they don't do the work for it.
It's not handled
ultimately well. Yeah, and ultimately they never will, because of the type of person. He's a fucking sociopath.
Yeah.
And again, so is Sean Bateman. And so, like, it is sort of a sad story, a bittersweet symphony, if you will, Tom.
Yeah, that's life, Dave.
And and instead of doing that work, they just hit him with a car.
Yeah,
they just go, you know what?
This is gonna be too hard. They have him have the epiphany, though.
Yeah, I'd say Rules of Attraction is just like, it feels a little more complex. Again, this is coming from the fact that I haven't watched it in a while. It's a very that film is very I guess bleak. Triggering is the word.
It's bleak. It feels less. It feels like it has less purpose behind it, but that's not necessarily true. It's just like I said, misery for misery's sake is a complaint you could lodge against Rules of Attraction.
Yeah, well, I would say there are characters that make it out okay, but their relationship with Sean. We're seeing it all through the lens of the relationship with Sean.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, they're all like, fuck you, man. Like it all ends badly between them.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't necessarily see how a lot of these characters continue on afterwards.
Well, one of them dies, but yeah.
Yes.
Spoilers for Rules of Attraction. But
yeah, it's a brutal fucking movie.
One of them dies, and it's not the one you want. It's not Sean.
Well, no, there's an implication that Sean dies at the end.
Is there? No, I'll have to watch it again.
Yeah, the way the ending works. That's what I mean, is that there's an implication that Sean dies in a traffic accident, I believe, if I remember it correctly. So very similar to this, but they complete the sort of arc of the character.
Mm-hmm.
Are you talking about the suicide? Because
I'm talking about the suicide, yeah.
Yeah, that's some brutal shit.
Yes.
But like, that's actually a side character, if you remember. Like, that's the whole point.
True. That's right. Okay.
The whole point is you don't even know she exists.
And he doesn't ever know. Yeah.
Yeah, and he never knows she exists. Again, brutal film.
Yeah.
I think Shannon Sossaman, like, she has a bad time, but she ultimately, I think, is like detaches from Sean, and that's the point. It's like people getting away from him.
Right,
from what
that's
I remember.
true. If you look at it from the lens of it's like a bunch of main characters who are all have a crush on Sean, and he's only interested in one of them, but in a very conquest-driven way, like Ryan Phillippe in this film. And that film is ultimately about how everybody realizing he's a piece of shit and disengaging from him.
Exactly.
So I guess there is a bit more intent behind that movie than a bit crueler intent.
Crueler intent. I think that's an actual, a more grounded version where it's like he never really learns. Everybody just says, you know what, fuck you, man.
But that's not the only way you can tell that story. So we can't.
No, it's not.
We can't come down on Cruel Intentions because it doesn't do it the same way, because they wanted to have their character have an epiphany, and that's probably, I assume, is what happens in Dangerous Liaisons to this character.
Also, if you remember in Rules of Attraction, Sean also has that thing where he's like, I want to be good. That's a part of it.
Yeah. In his in his version of good, if I remember correctly.
I just think there's it just reminded me of that.
I have to watch that movie again. Shit. All right.
I mean, it's well made. Fucking.
It's a brutal. I took my
Roger
girlfriend
Avery
to see that movie.
Ooh.
Holy, yeah, that was not a good movie to take your girlfriend to.
I knew, because the trailer gives you no indication except where it says "From the Right of American Psycho," and so when I went in with a friend, we were like, "This is going to be bleak, right?" And it was filled with teenage girls because it was James Van Der Beek. They pushed James Van Der Beek.
They sure did. I do love that aspect of it, is they pushed the teen heartthrob James Van Der Beek, and he's a fucking brutal maniac in that movie.
And to the film's credit, they, in the first 10 minutes, they tell you what kind of film that is. It is.
Yeah.
And so the film, my theater cleared out. Is the end of that story. It cleared out.
Let's move back to the film in question.
Yes. But you understand, like, this reminded me of that. And what was the other movie I just said it was like? I don't know, man. Time.
I don't know.
It reminds me of a lot of other movies that I think did it better or more elegantly, or aspects of it better.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, yeah, again, it's for teens. It's my first sexy thriller, you know?
Yeah.
And in that regard, I think it's a good idea.
Maybe, Baby's first complex redemption story, because they're asking us to forgive a character who you never want to say people are irredeemable, but he's pretty damn close.
Well, they set him up of like, he's the sex riddler. He's a villain. He's a sociopath.
He's a bad person, yeah.
And so, like, I think it's what it is when you start with a character, House of Yes. Sorry, that was the other one. When you start with a character that's this complex, in that he's like a fucking shark, you can't just have him, like, meet Reese Witherspoon and she makes funny faces at him and he's like, I want to be better.
Yes, we need a little bit more than that. But yeah, I appreciate, I wish it would have handled it better, but I do appreciate that it presents, well, never mind. It needed to do more work that way, because showing this to teenagers might confuse them into forgiving behavior that they shouldn't.
Yeah, because
he
you're
doesn't
right.
they don't do a lot of work to justify it. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're right. The first half sets up something very insidious. And so, like, it's almost like it needs to be dark, and it tries to be dark, but him getting hit by a car, it didn't set, like, they didn't set that up, you know? It's not a moment of justice. It's just randomness. And if that was the point of the movie, then that'd be one thing. But it just feels like they didn't know what to do, and they needed to redeem him, but they knew that no one would ever fully like him, so they killed him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a very easy way to take care of that.
Right. And so it sets up a lot of complex things, and then it doesn't really answer them or complete them in a satisfying way.
Right. The redemption arc was too complicated. So ironically, it's like baby's first complex redemption arc, where it's a character that you're like, man, it's going to be really hard to forgive this person, or at least come to a place of forgiveness. And then they just it's like they realized that as they were doing the movie, and so fuck it, we're never going to pull this off. Just hit him with a taxi.
Yeah, they wrote themselves into a corner. Is this why the Scary Movie films had a gag where a character kept getting hit by a car?
I don't know.
Because they do that in a few of the Scary Movies. They just hit her with a car at the end. And I'm wondering, because they definitely spoofed Cruel Intentions in one of those Scary Movies.
Of course they did. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think...
probably fucking spoof Shrek in one of them. It's just whatever was popular at the time.
Yes, that was their jam.
Yeah.
This is a weird movie. This is a weird fucking movie.
It is.
And the question of whether or not it really, gives a good message to teens, I'm not sure. Because I also think even a teenager would know, schlock when they see it, right?
I hope so, and I hope it's more of oh, he's sorry, and it's well, he's sorry is a good start, but we need a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
So
consequences.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that this necessarily had a message to it.
Mm-hmm.
There's like we were saying earlier, there's stuff where you could pick up where there's a bit of a satirical bent to it, and it is very critical of New York high society. But I guess you could say that's its message. I don't know. It doesn't feel like this movie has an important thing to say that it wants to get across so much as it wanted to tell this specific story within this context. It wanted to tell Dangerous Liaisons within the context of extremely rich teenagers in modern day New York City.
I think that's where it stopped. I think it's when they did the teen Romeo and Juliet's, where they someone that was the pitch.
You mean modern Romeo and Juliet?
Modern.
Okay.
But also, they're
because they are teens.
But the cool Romeo and Juliet.
Sure, the Baz
where
Luhrmann.
It's I think that's what it is. I think this was pitched it's Dangerous Liaisons, but rich teens.
Mm-hmm.
And they were make the movie. This makes me want to watch Dangerous Liaisons, by the way, because I looked it up afterward and I did not realize it's Glenn Close, Uma Thurman, John Malkovich, and Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
And Keanu Reeves, I assume, way in over his head. Bless his heart. Bless his heart. But my God.
I assume he's probably the Sean Patrick Thomas character.
Yeah. But good God.
But yeah, it's just all this. It's like when he was in Much Ado About Nothing.
Yeah. Or Dracula, where it's oh my goodness.
Oh, Lord. He's doing scenes with Gary Oldman. All right. What about Much Ado? This is a light comedy. Who are his scenes with? Denzel Washington. Shit.
Oh, man. Look, we all love Keanu. He can do a backflip.
We love Keanu. He has a very limited and specific range, though.
Yeah. And it's not Dangerous Liaisons.
It's not Dangerous Liaisons.
God, I gotta watch that.
Hell yes.
Yeah. I think that's all I got to say about Cruel Intentions.
I had never seen it before.
Mm-hmm.
Now seeing it, I totally get the appeal. It probably seemed pretty fresh at the time.
Yeah.
Even though we were kind of ramping up the remakes of or the modern adaptations of old stories like 10 Things I Hate About You and O and we already said Romeo and Juliet.
Forgot about O.
Oh yeah. I think O came after this though. But I get it. It's an interesting take on a teen movie where we just start out with utter bastards who are never really fully redeemed.
Yeah.
And it's all about how everyone's life is ruined.
Yeah. This is at least, a little
dark.
more.
It's dark.
It's dark, but at least it does have a sort of she got what's coming to her. Like, that's the best you could ask for in this movie is like
all the awful people get punished.
The happy ending is an act of revenge.
Yeah.
And it's like, good God. But, I mean, it's better than nothing.
I mean, it would. Yeah, it's not like we didn't want to see these people get punished.
Mm-hmm.
They're fuckers from Jump Street.
I fucking popped when he got hit by the car, and then even more when they cut to his fucking funeral. That was
dead
the
ass
punchline.
body. He's strolling through Central Park dressed like fucking Dracula.
Yeah,
looking like a magician.
What an asshole!
Gosh, hit that man. That's like Sean Patrick Thomas just beat him up, not because of his relationship with Selma Blair, but just because he was walking around looking like that.
Right, he was just like, how fucking dare you?
I got to stop this guy before he walks up to some woman jogging and tries to show her close-up magic. I got to nip this in the bud.
Yeah.
We gonna beat this guy's ass.
Yeah. In a lot of ways, it's the perfect ending.
Yeah, he gets hit by I almost said truck. That would have been incredible.
Oh my God! If he
City
popped like a balloon,
he just gets hit
City
by
of Angels,
bus.
yeah. God damn! When she fucking rides that bike and closes her eyes, what an asshole!
Yeah,
what is that a thing we just did during this time?
No, that's the kind of thing you do when you're trying to get hit by a bus. You're
right. It's the thing you're trying to do when you're trying to fucking end your film and you don't know how.
Yeah, you have no idea how. He gets hit by a taxi. She gets her cocaine crucifix taken away from her.
Yeah.
She gets embarrassed in front of the whole school.
Yep.
Movie
and she'll go
over.
Yeah. They're all all the living people go on to become like politicians.
Oh yeah, they're all going to be Supreme Court justices.
Yeah. But yeah, in the meantime, bittersweet symphony.
Yep.
Yeah. Reese Witherspoon drives away with his book.
With his cruel intentions intact.
With his cruel intentions. She named it Cruel Intentions, the book.
Yes.
I also read the IMDb trivia that this was originally titled Cruel Inventions.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, that sounds like a sci-fi. And it's like, it doesn't? Yeah, I guess, but it doesn't. I don't know.
It's also a bad title.
Yeah, it's a bad title. And they're like, all right, change a couple of letters. We're good. And it's like, yeah, you actually are.
Cruel Intentions. Way better title.
Yeah.
Way more descriptive of what it's actually about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was right there.
Yeah.
It's so weird that they went with Cruel Inventions first.
You were almost there. He's like, nope, it's Inventions. That's the title. That's what it's going to be called. It's, buddy, I think a couple more minutes in the oven. You're almost there.
Just give it a second.
Yeah. Just one more second.
All right. Well, thank you, Harris and Millie. This was a fascinating watch. I'm glad they chose it.
Yeah.
This was through our Patreon, and if you're interested, you can go to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We have exclusive podcasts on there, like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, and Fox Mulder is a Maniac, and Star Trek The Next Futurama. It's $5 a month you get all of that. For the tier above, we watch movies every Friday night with our patrons. This is definitely the type of movie we would put on, I think.
Oh, hell yeah. We're probably going to watch this at some point.
Yeah, probably.
This movie is delightfully out of its gourd.
It's fascinating.
We also have a store. The link's a little jack-legged, so just head over to gamefullyunemployed.com where you'll be able to the link will be there. We have t-shirts, masks, posters, stickers, all kinds of things. Check that out.
Check it out.
Yeah,
and
do it.
I guess watch Cruel Intentions if you feel like it. Show it to your kids.
Yeah,
show it to all your kids.
And so this is an important tale. This is an important morality play.
You got siblings? Show them it, and be like, look, sometimes siblings fuck.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes.
That's the point of this movie.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
sometimes.
It's a fable. It's the ant and the grasshopper in the taxi cab.